Who is Medgar Evers? A man who had a vision and prominent voice for the future to hold improved lives for Black people. He has organized a boycott to let Blacks use the same restrooms as whites. In life and tragically after death, Medgar has influenced and continues to influence lives of everyone around him.
On the day of July 2nd, 1925, a leader was born and a legacy was soon to be started. He was originally from Decatur, Mississippi. Times were rough living in the South. Medgar witnessed the cruelty being dealt out on African Americans. One day, him and 5 friends were forced away at gunpoint from voting in an election. He was drafted in the U.S. Army in the year of 1943. His service was stationed in France and Germany for World War II. Soon after coming back home, he enrolled in Alcorn College, which is now known as Alcorn State University. There he was a member of different activities such as football and choir.
Here he met his future wife, Merle Beasley. They soon married December 24, 1951, and were blessed with their 3 children, Raina, James, and Daryl. In 1952, he graduated from Alcorn and began working as an insurance agent until 1954. He then began studying on civil rights and became involved with the Regional Council of Negro Leadership, also known as RCNL. It was a program to promote civil rights, self-help, and business ownership. Being more and more involved, he earned the position of president in the RCNL.
February 1954, Evers applied to the University of Mississippi Law School and was denied admission simply because of his skin color. But this did not stop him. He volunteered to help the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, also known as the NAACP, integrate the university, but failed once again. The NAACP then recognized his leadership and named him their first field secretary.
In May of 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court finally made a decision on the Brown v. Board of Education case. This was a landmark in the United States Supreme Court in which the court declared state laws establishing separate schools for Blacks and white students to be unconstitutional. Their decision ended segregation in schools but took years before it was fully implemented.
Medgar traveled and recruited new members for the NAACP and organized voter registration efforts. At the same time, he led demonstrations and economic boycotts of white-owned companies that practiced discrimination.
He was one of Mississippi's most prominent and determined civil rights activists. He fought racial injustices such as segregated restrooms, restricted voting, and how the state and local legal system handled crimes against African Americans. Evers' first investigation was the lynching of Emmett Till. On August 24, 1955, Emmett was reportedly flirting with the white cashier woman in Money, Mississippi. 4 days later, 2 white men tortured and murdered Till. He was beaten to death with a gashed-out eye, was shot in the head, and thrown in a river tied to a cotton gin, barbered with wire. Evers also protested the conviction of his fellow Mississippi civil rights activist Clyde Kennard on theft charges in 1960.
Despite all things that he's accomplished, he knew that he was a target for those who opposed racial equality and desegregation. Him and his family would receive threats and violent actions. In the month of May 1963, his house was firebombed.
I've had a number of threatening calls, people calling me saying that they were going to kill me, saying that they were going to blow my home up, and saying that I only had a few hours to live.
On June 12, 1963, at 12:40 a.m., Medgar was shot in his driveway moments after John F. Kennedy's speech. His wife and kids witnessed the murder. Sadly, he died an hour later at a nearby hospital. The day after Evers' death, several actions broke out in the local Black community. Black ministers and businessmen joined other outraged Black people as they surged throughout the streets. It increased support for
legislation
that would soon become Civil Rights Act of 1964.
His assassin was Byron de la Beckwith, a white segregationist and founding member of Mississippi's White Citizens Council. This was a group formed in 1954 to resist integration of schools and civil rights activity. 31 years after Evers' death, Beckwith was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. Merle was present every step of the way to seek justice. Beckwith died January 21, 2001 at the age of 80.
Medgar was buried with full military honors in Arlington National Cemetery. The NAACP also awarded him their 1965 Spring Arm Medal.
Since his passing, Medgar's contributions to the civil rights movement has been recognized and honored in many ways. His widow created what is now known as the Medgar Murley Institute in Jackson, Mississippi. It was made to continue the couple's commitment to social change. The City University of New York has named one of its campuses after the slain activist. In 2009, the U.S. Navy also bestowed his name on one of their vessels. Ever since he's been gone, his imposing presence, compelling oratory, and committed leadership left with him.
Fortunately, we had the opportunity to interview Charles Evers and his great-grandchildren, Corey and Courtney Cockrell, which is Medgar's great-nieces.
You want me to start? Okay. Well, that was, a larger part of an issue that he thought was important as far as, civil rights in general. He had an emphasis on voting rights as well as just regular accommodations that black people weren't afforded. And basically, he just thought that everybody should be afforded the same opportunities. And he just made that his mission to do what he could to make sure that those rules were applied across the board.
And one of the things I'd like to add is that he knew going that route or taking measures to ensure that African Americans were afforded the same rights as everyone in this country. He knew that he was putting his life on the line, but he made that sacrifice and pushed forward in order to make sure that he didn't let fear get in the way of what he felt like was the ultimate goal, which was so important for so many people.
Okay, thank you.
Once we got in touch with Charles Evers, he mentioned that Medgar's passing was a tragedy to the community and it raised awareness in Mississippi. Nearly 50 years after his death, Barack Obama was elected president. In Murley's words, Medgar did not die in vain. In 2017, President Obama designated his home as a national landmark.
Medgar was the type of leader that would sacrifice his life to make the lives of others better. He couldn't sit around and watch these things happen. Today, African Americans across the nation have had more opportunities and a chance to be something extraordinary.
Medgar was one of many to help make this change.
Medgar, we thank you for your service,
Ambition,
and inspiration.
We're not just interested in voting so that conditions will be improved for Negroes. We want conditions improved for everybody.